Hello everyone and welcome to the Action Figuratorium. Who am I? My name is Mark Major. I'm a real big toy collector and studio owner here in Southeast Portland. I do a lot of videos on the toy industry. I do a lot of videos on marketing analysis, opinions of different marketing campaigns. I like to cover sort of the business side of toys. I find a lot of people don't talk about these things as much. Most of these toy channels really like to get into just reviewing and doing some toy news, but I like to get into the nuts and bolts of what makes these companies work. And of course, one of these companies that I've been talking about for a couple years is Funko. Why? Because Funko makes Funko Pops and they own Mondo. Mondo makes 1/6 scale action figures. They've been doing Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe figures that have been kind of fan favorites. There's a lot of other channels that cover the Mondo toys and people seem to like them. Well, they are owned by Funko. They were purchased, bought out a few years ago, and of course Funko got rid of all the things like the poster making that Mondo did and just kind of kept the action figure side of things. So we're going to be talking about Funko in the most recent series of articles that have been coming around about Funko supposedly not being able to sustain itself for another 12 months due to lack of sales. It is $241 million in debt, and we're going to talk about what happens if they go bankrupt, which it looks like they probably are because we've been talking about this for a few years now, and I'm just going to speculate, nothing more, speculate on what I think will happen to Funko as a company. So gather around the fire, grab your ukulele, and let's just hold on tight, people. Let's start by just kind of going over to browser view here and pointing out that August 26, 2024, a little over a year ago, I posted this video called Prediction Toy Industry Crash. And look at all the sharks I own. Those are all sharks I've collected. Prediction: will a major toy company go bankrupt? Place bets on Hasbro, Funko, and Super 7. We've seen Super 7 on the rocks. Not bad. And now we're seeing Funko on the rocks. So this video I made August 2024, still making the rounds as far as my predictions go. Are my predictions very good? Let's be honest, probably not. However, I do make them. All right, if we go over to this article over here on the Kotaku, Funko Pop is $241 million in debt as it issues dire warning. So what they did is they said that we do not think we can go another 12 months, and they're claiming it due to shortage of sales. And we're going to go over to The Beat, which also has an article. And in this article, they mention that this isn't the beginning of their troubles. That back in 2023, they ended up dumping about 50,000 Funko Pops into a landfill so they could write off somewhere between $28 and $35 million worth of stock. It was a write-off for them, and it was just a way to sort of pump some water out of the sinking ship. Now, last year, they actually were able to post a very small kind of profit, and when I was covering the Diamond bankruptcy, I noted that it looked like they had turned things around, and I thought they were out. I thought they were out of trouble. they're not out of trouble, people. And this article here is making it sound like, and again, these articles always do this, they lead you down a path. They're not really truth, right? You would have to actually be kind of in the heart of Funko to know the truth, and this article is not going to give it to you. So by reading these articles, don't think that all of a sudden you're some sort of a financial wizard, right? You are not. You would have to be really ingrained in Funko to know what the truth is, right? To understand, because yes, they do have sales. They have quite a bit of sales. They make millions of dollars, but they also have quite a bit of overhead. And oftentimes what we find with companies going out of business isn't that they're unsuccessful in selling, it's that they're terrible at spending and budgets. And that really could be the heart of this more than anything else. But what we really need to address is the duality with Funko itself. You see, on the one hand, they sell a tchotchke. They sell a cheap cheeseball generic product that anybody can buy and use as a type of birthday gift, right? On the other hand, Funko makes a collectible. They supposedly put out rare collectible figures that people try to buy. Some of them even are graded by these companies that grade comic books. And people try to sit on these and let them amass value over years so that they become a collectible, kind of like a stock or a bond that they can sell later. Which is it? Are you selling collectibles or are you selling tchotchkes? This is the duality problem of Funko Pops. And oftentimes on these articles, if you look at the comments, you will see a lot of truth. Usually what people say in all the comments is that they have oversaturated, meaning they have gone the route of leaning into selling tchotchkes and not in the realm of making collectibles. And this seems to be a balance problem for Funko. I'm not really sure what kind of a company they are. And so this could be part of the problem with the decline in sales, but I believe this is something closer to what happens with a lot of these trendy toy companies, is that they hit, they exist for a time, and then people are bored with them. For example, Cabbage Patch Kids. And a lot of you don't remember that, but there was a moment when Cabbage Patch Kids were really kind of a raging thing. Everybody had to have them. And then we moved on from that. We moved on to something different. And then we moved on to something like Beanie Babies. That's what they talk about quite a bit at that show Beyond Wednesdays, on their industry night on Tuesday. And all those cats who run those comic book stores, they talk about how successful they are now at selling Beanie Babies. But at the same time, the Beanie Babies are priced to go. They pay $1 for them. They sell them for $3 to $5. They're just tchotchkes, kind of like a Funko Pop, which they probably pay $1 for, sell them for $5, right? But the minute people stop buying these, it just doesn't, it scales when people are buying hundreds of them, when people are buying tens of them. $2, $3, a Beanie Baby, a Funko Pop, not enough to keep the doors open. So what you're witnessing here is essentially finally the end of a trend, people. The Funko Pops are finally coming to an end. They printed money like they were garbage. Now they're not selling as much. What are they going to do? Okay, so we should probably talk about what we think is going to happen to this company. Are they going to go out of business? Are they going to go bankrupt? Let's say they do. Let's say they don't get the sales up and they don't get spending down. Usually the way you get spending down, layoffs. If you could get the sales up, you would just get the sales up. That's what every company is trying to do. They're trying to get more sales. But you don't really have control over that so much as you do have control over spending, meaning you can lay off people. You can get rid of cafeteria workers. You can get rid of some accountants. You can get rid of some customer service. You can get rid of some sales reps. You can trim the fat. You can take people who've been there for a while and you can say, hey, what do you think about early retirement? You're so close, let's just do it today. Hey, I'll give you a couple extra bucks. You can thin the herd, people. There's plenty of high-paid executives that can golden parachute their way out. They can step down. That will save them a bit of money in the long run. But let's just say that they go bankrupt. Funko goes bankrupt. What are they going to do? Well, they could try to actually restructure, right? Which just means what I'm saying, but in a much, much bigger scale. Figure out exactly what is selling and make only that and sell only that and don't have anything else, and see if they can, get it under control. Or they go bankrupt and they sell the company off to somebody. And I'm going to say that in both circumstances, these guys are probably going to sell off Mondo to another company. Because Mondo's probably making money. They can show people that it's profitable. They can then, and it has a pretty good brand, they can sell Mondo to someone else to get some cash in the cash register. Whether they restructure or whether they don't restructure and they decide to sell the thing off, they could probably always sell that piece off as a separate chunk. Possibility, though, that they might keep Mondo to make Funko seem more valuable to sell the whole thing. Like, hey, if you buy Funko, you get Mondo. People might just buy Funko to try and get Mondo. That might be sort of a play that they might make. I'm going to predict that they sell it off, though. I just think that that's something because they bought it and they got, we got this thing, and then they just, we got rid of this thing. That's my prediction. We'll see if that, prediction one, we'll see if that happens. They sell off the Mondo. Second of all, who would buy Funko at this point? Who would buy the Funko and absorb the debt? And who is the debt to? I think the debt is probably to JP Morgan. JP Morgan is one of these companies that has their hand in everybody's debt. I don't know how they do it. Who finances them? Who has their debt? I'm going to say that that someone just prints money and gives it to them. Who would Funko be sold to? Well, remember, in these things, we have only two options. You either sell to a competitor or you sell to somebody who doesn't have anything to do with what you do and is looking to add your logo to their umbrella of other logos. To say, look at my portfolio. I've got a steak company, and I've got a boat company, and I've got a tchotchke company, right? Look, we sell coats, we sell tchotchkes, we sell steaks, we sell boats, we have an Airbnb. We have all these different things that don't make any sense, and together they're all this one company. So it's going to be somebody who has nothing to do with them. Possibly someone like maybe, I'm going to say it, maybe like an Amazon. I always throw Amazon out there as a possible person who might buy one of these companies, even though I guess Amazon doesn't really need to buy them. They just need to ship the product. But it could just be some random, no-name, Universal Core or something that buys them and just adds them to the umbrella. The other possibility is another toy company, i.e. a competitor. Now, when a competitor buys a competitor, what they do is this. They shut it down. They walk in, they turn the lights off, people are at their desks, they're eating their sandwiches, the computers go black, the power goes out, the phones don't work anymore, the doors are all locked, the elevators don't work. They got to grab their stuff as quickly as they can and get out of there. That is what happens. So who would buy them to shut them down? Well, top of the list, I'm going to say, is Sparkle Pop. Who is Sparkle Pop? Sparkle Pop is essentially the company that owns NECA, and that is the company that bought Diamond Comics Distribution, that also ended up buying Diamond Select Toys in the purchase of them from the bankruptcy. And what did they do with Diamond Select Toys? They walked in, they turned the power off, they shut everything off, they fired everybody got kicked out of the building, done. So that is a possibility. Who is going to buy them? Sparkle Pop buying Funko Pop. Wouldn't that be a great headline? If we see that headline, that is my prediction too. Number 2, Sparkle Pop, Funko Pop, all right? Could there be anybody else who might want to purchase this company? Well, what about the company that tried to buy Diamond Comics distribution, won the bid, was told they didn't win the bid, sued to win the bid, and then decided afterwards that there was some skullduggery going on behind the scenes and decided they didn't want Diamond Comics distribution. I'm talking about AENG, Alliance Entertainment Group. And these cats might be a contender to buy Funko Pop because they kind of have some other tchotchke-like brands that they own and sell. And they might say, you know what? We could take this and the brand might mean something. We could put, we could take the toys we're making and we could put Funko on them. And it would be kind of an upgrade. I forget exactly the name of the company that they own that's kind of Funko Pop adjacent. But they have a kind of a tchotchke type company, and so by putting Funko on it, plus who knows, do they get all the molds, etc.? Funko must have like 2 billion molds in China by this point, and do they just recycle that stuff? Is there just like a crazy warehouse? Who knows? So that might be a possibility. Could anybody else? Would we see someone like Hasbro maybe buy them? I'm going to say probably not. Mattel, I could see Mattel buying Mondo, but I don't see Mattel buying something like this. I think Mattel would just kind of like to see Funko die. Something tells me that Hasbro and Mattel would love to see these guys crash and burn, and they don't want to get involved at all. They just want to watch from a distance. Don't know. Can't think of anybody else who might sort of be into buying this sort of company who's a competitor. But I don't know, maybe you, the viewer out there, has an idea of who could buy Funko if they go down. And I would actually like to hear you throw some names out there and put them in the hat. And we'll kind of discuss whether or not that's feasible, whether or not it's a good fit or a bad fit. So, thanks to everybody who made it this far into the video. I always appreciate it. I appreciate also when people do the like button. It lets YouTube know that that people out there are still using the like button. It's not for me, it's for YouTube. They need to know this. I just want YouTube to know that you're using the like button. And of course, right next to the like button is the subscribe button. Another fantastic button that really YouTube wants to know that people are still using. For me, though, personally, I want to know that all of us together as a sort of unified whole, that we are staying charged. So everybody, stay charged out there.